Zimbabwe citizens will continue paying passport fees in US dollars, despite the introduction of a new currency last month. The Deputy Finance Minister actually did say this. Now, David Kuda said on Monday that there was a pre-existing agreement between the government and the Lithuanian passport printing company. Now, for the passport fees to be charged in dollars. And of course, joining me on the program right now to make sense of this is Prosper Chitambara, development economist. Thank you for joining, Prosper. Now, let's look at the new currency itself, a gold-backed currency called ZiG. The name stands for Zimbabwe Gold. It's an attempt to stabilize, the country's ailing economy. What do you make of the initiative itself?
Well, I think on paper it sounds great to anchor your currency on some stable asset like gold or even foreign exchange, of which Zimbabwe is one of the biggest producers of gold. And of course, last year, in fact, the past few years, we've seen there has been an increase in foreign exchange inflows into the economy. So what it actually means there is that the value of the currency then becomes a function of the value of gold largely. And we've seen the price of gold has actually been appreciating over the past few weeks and even few months. So on paper, I think it's a good idea. But whether or not that's going to help, I think obviously time is going to tell, because the major challenge has been the lack of trust and confidence in the local currency, which has resulted obviously in the dollarization of the economy. So to all intents and purposes, the Zimbabwean economy is now dollarized, with the USD transactions accounting for as much as between above 80% of the total transactions.
Okay, I mean, talking about transactions within the country, I mean, the initiative or the idea behind this is to boost the local economy and also boost the strength of the local currency. But right now, the government is saying that a key transaction, should be done in dollars or will be done in dollars, talking about passports. And we know that compliance to this directive has been an issue. Report still has it that in spite of this, many Zimbabweans would rather transact in dollars. And right now, the government is saying, for your passports, you might just need to pay in dollars. I mean, does that not make the government look like a government contradicting itself or its directive and not leading by example?
Yes. I think that's been a major challenge. Of course, it's not just for passports alone, but also even in terms of the fuel sector. It's 100% dollarized. So, of course, government has said that as part of the de-dollarization plan, at some point from now until 2030, we'll see fuel and even passports actually being available in the local currency. But currently, that's not yet the case. So I think obviously it can also then affect even market sentiment and confidence within the economy, and ultimately it can also then affect the sustainability of ZiG. But we are hoping that at some point soon, the passports and even fuel should actually be available in the ZiG. I think that would be an important confidence boosting measure.
I'm sorry, Prosper, but I would need you to get a bit more practical with me. You are in Zimbabwe. How would you rate the level of compliance? I'm talking of even as basic as the micro level, maybe just normal petty transactions that people before would do using the dollar. Is that transition happening, substantially at all?
No, it's not yet substantial. It's taking about a bit of time. I think it's going to take a bit of time for people to eventually have full confidence and trust in the local currency. We are still in a chronic high inflationary environment. Our annual inflation rate is actually, I think, the second highest on the African continent. and one of the highest in the world. So obviously that affects the economic agents' confidence in the local currency. And also, the Zimbabwean economy is now largely informal. And the informal economy is not just, not only is it dollarized, but it's also a cash-based economy. So I think it's going to take a bit of time especially in terms of our macroeconomic stabilization. If we are able to, the sooner we're actually able to bring inflation rate down at least to single-digit levels, and if we can sustain that, say for 6 months or even a year, I think that, in my view, will be an important signal that will cause people or economic agents to have confidence in the local currency and ultimately ensure the sustainability of ZIG and also of the macroeconomy.
All right, Prosper, I mean, just to get your thought on this, I mean, you've sort of itemized the efforts the government is making, and you pretty much sound optimistic, about this initiative. But I want you to be, in 30 seconds, be very apt. How realistic is this transition?
I think my view is that it's going to take a bit of time. I think what's important now is to ensure that government walks the talk in terms of implementing the key macroeconomic reforms around fiscal discipline and sustainability, and also around monetary discipline, the central bank itself. Of course, they've made an undertaking that there's not going to be any more printing of money that is actually not backed by the available reserves of gold and USD. So if we're able to walk the talk, I think with time, we'll eventually get there. But it's going to take a long time, given the experiences of the past.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me on the conversation at this time. Prosper, I deeply appreciate you. Thank you once again.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
All right.